Okay. Here we go. We are here. Why isn't the thing working? Oh, great. Yeah. Gonna have to fix this. Okay, here we go. We're there. We're there. It's the Rough Report, ladies and gentlemen, living up to its name. All right.
Did you switch out my mic?
I did. You have a different mic today. That was the one that was already on that stand, so I figured, hey, let's see how this mic sounds on that, because you usually use the good old ever dependable SM58. In my opinion, this one is a much nicer microphone, but you don't typically use it for speaking. This is me being an audio nerd.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're the audio nerd. I'm just the many other kinds of nerd, so I don't know about this situation.
Yeah, I think it sounds fine.
Cool.
All right. So, yeah, we did very little planning on this episode. Okay,
we're just vibing.
Yeah, we're just vibing. I have a couple shows coming up this Friday. I'm playing in Hamilton. So, you know, we've been doing a lot of stuff with worrying about that. And,
May 24th?
May 24th, yeah.
Where are you playing again?
The Corktown.
Yeah.
Corktown Tavern.
I'm going to pretend that I'm asking for the audience's sake and not for my own.
Yeah, you can, check out the various links that you see here for more information.
Which I have not today.
At least not today. Yeah.
I like how ominous my face looks with the overhead lighting.
Yeah, I know. Like it looks very like it makes us look a little bit sinister. Yeah. I think.
We are. It's okay.
I've said it before, but we really need to get the ring light that we used to have behind the cameras back.
We should just buy more ring lights.
We just need to get more.
Smatter them across the house.
Just need to get more. Speaking of which, I haven't done one in 2024 yet, but we'll probably be doing another one of like the Rough Go little fundraisers where I'll do a custom song for you or something like that. And you donate money and you get entered into the chance to win a custom song or something of the like. And the proceeds go basically just towards advancing this show, advancing those musical projects. And it's just a good way for fans to be able to help support that if they would like to do that.
That sounds fun and nice.
Yes, I like to think so. Done it a couple times before. It's turned out great. Check out the Rough Go on SoundCloud to hear the results of previous contest winners.
Which is a ska song about seahorses.
Yep. And also a cover of the song Youth by Daughter, which was pitched to me because it was very much out of my wheelhouse, and it very much is. It's a weird one. So have fun listening to that.
I'm going to keep hammering on about playing your ska seahorse song when you do live shows.
I don't rehearse it. Like once I uploaded that, I was like, yeah, I'm done with that song now, because I never considered it to be that serious a thing. But if you like that song legitimately, especially folks out there who might be listening, if you listen to that song and you're like, yes, this is a song you should actually have in your regular repertoire, I might be receptive to that.
I'm also insufferable, and I'm just going to hammer the point endlessly, because that's who I am as a person.
Sure. So, yeah, like I said, I have very little queued up, but of course, I feel like it's almost ad nauseum at this point, because the stuff that we've been talking about in previous episodes, it just keeps happening.
It hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, the conditions really haven't changed. There hasn't been anything new that has been happening per se.
It's new only in the new depths of horror.
Yeah,
it's not new as in like, oh, this is something good new.
Yeah.
New. I mean, the goodest new is the progress of the boycott against Loblaws in Canada. So that's been going nicely. In terms of Reddit, the Loblaws is out of control. Reddit page has over 80,000 members now. But that's just one media platform. That certainly isn't even the most popular media platform. And so that's a small snippet of the number of people who are just like really fed the cup up of being gouged for life necessities. So it sounds like it's going good. And the thing that James is bringing up right now is it's a nothing burger.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I haven't read much into this yet, but yeah, I don't depend on it to mean anything ultimately, right? It's kind of the same thing with like all those companies. Like I remember about 25 years ago. Even Much Music, like which was now owned by Bell Media and basically got destroyed by Bell Media after they took it over. But Much Music in Canada was a really cool place for a while. It was basically Canadian MTV, and yeah, back then I remember they did a couple of like original pieces of programming that were basically like documentaries on sweatshops and stuff like that, and kind of exposing those conditions and talking about like the supply chains involved and stuff like that.
Joe Fresh,
yeah,
owned by Loblaws.
Yeah,
they run a sweatshop, and they had, refresh my memory on the specifics of this. Did they have a sweatshop on fire or that collapsed? But a lot of
one or the other. It was something like that. But like the reason I mention this is like all those years ago in those documentaries and stuff, it kind of resulted in a movement. Not saying just because of Much Music, but like there was a general movement around the idea of scrutinizing these things, and it sort of resulted in like a bunch of companies signing up to like this pledge that basically said, you know, we're going to do everything we can. We're signing this universal pledge that says this is how we're going to conduct business moving forward, and you know, we're going to do what we can to limit these awful conditions and stuff like that. But now it's gotten to the point where like, oh sure, they sign those things, but now when those things happen, they go, well, we can't be responsible for everything that happens in our supply chains. We don't know everything that happens in our supply chain from the top down, and where all these materials come from, and how we're sourcing this stuff. Yeah. And it's like, well, you know, and even if that were true, then how could you sign the pledge in the first place, right?
It's not true. This is part of modern companies, is that there are GDPR policies around responsibility for your suppliers. There's no basically just like washing of hands, like,
that's basically the approach that Nike took, because they were one of the big companies that were like, yeah, we're going to do better, right? Because they were one of the ones that were really under the microscope, because like, yeah, you're using sweatshop labor for making all your shoes and stuff, and you charge exuberant prices for them. And, you know, they were really put under the microscope for that. Yeah. And so they did basically, it resulted in a PR stunt that meant nothing. Segue into this.
Before we specifically, May 3rd, 2013, Bangladesh building collapse death toll of the Joe Fresh workers surpassed 700 victims. So... yeah, like for over a decade, it's been known.
Like essentially
they're in third world countries such as Bangladesh. The work is sent out there because of the poor working conditions, because companies can pay people pennies and not have to worry whether they live or die. So this is just part and parcel with the Loblaws brand of having a complete lack of care for human life, whether it be being able to afford groceries or if you die in one of their fucking sweatshops, they don't give a shit. They just want your fucking money. So anyway, we're continuing to boycott Loblaws.
And from the looks of it, I mean, people may be largely calling to extend the boycott for at least another month. And I got to say, as far as the boycott has been going for us,
yeah. It's permanent.
It's fine.
It's permanent.
I mean, we're good with it.
Yeah.
You know?
And the nice thing... And
there's other places to go. You know?
That's not to say that every community has that choice.
Yeah.
But certainly in Ottawa and Canada,
I see people get defensive about this. And let me, cut you off, right there, where you're just like, oh, what if I have to go here to buy this? Or what if I don't have many options? Like, okay, fucking relax, all right? Like, we're not going to, nail you to the cross.
Yeah. You're not our target.
Yeah. Try not to make too many excuses for yourself, of course. The idea is, we're putting in an effort here.
Yeah.
And the more you can do that effort and take part in that effort, great.
Yeah.
But don't necessarily sign it off to, well, it's too hard, so I don't want to do it or stuff like that. Be cautious of that. But no one's going to be like, oh, the only place you're able to reach within a reasonable amount of times is a Loblaws owned business. You awful fucking Nazi! Nobody's gonna do that. And if they do, they're a moron.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure 2 people will do that.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 people on the internet might do that.
Yeah, but let them, whatever. And it's a case where, Loblaws has monopolized the market. We get it. That's kind of why the people who have the option are boycotting, because they have the largest monopoly. Yeah. And so some folks, and by some folks I mean some people that I know on Facebook, for example, they are taking this boycott a step further, and they're boycotting all the large brands. Like the Loblaws, the Sobeys, the Metro. So they're taking that tack, and more power to them. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So if that's the way that you want to manage this, then fucking A, do it. I'm specifically focusing on Loblaws, which means that to fill in some gaps that maybe I haven't figured out where to get comparable groceries from, I'll still get them from Food Basics, right?
Yeah.
Food Basics is owned by Metro, I'm pretty sure.
Sobeys, I think. I
thought Farm Boy was owned by Sobeys, and I thought Food Basics was owned by Metro.
Quite possible. Anyway. It's quite possible.
Because we do Farm Boy as well, which is Sobeys.
Yeah.
So, we're figuring out our options. And that's the thing. The point of a boycott like this, saying that let's for 1 month not purchase anything from Sobeys, pardon me, not Sobeys, Loblaws, No Frills, T&T, Real Canadian Superstore.
Yeah. Shoppers Drug Mart.
Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yeah.
The point of that is to help people choose a specific time frame in which to build new habits, and so that once you have these new habits, it's easier to either continue on or just expand from there.
Yeah.
And so it's not a case of everyone needs to be perfect for 1 month. It's let's use this 1 month to start building new habits, and then expand and figure out where we need to go from there, right?
Yeah.
And so if during this boycott Loblaws month, if you're just hearing about it now, or if you have some products that you haven't figured out where else to get them, so you've still been, or you didn't realize that your No Frills is owned by Loblaws, you're not the enemy, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to educate and come together as Canadians to put pressure on one of the monopolies that is crushing us with food costs. We're already being crushed by landlords, and we have so little power over that. So standing together against a grocer, it seems to be a really good, positive driving force.
Yeah.
And so if we can extend that past Loblaws at the end of May and start, considering other ways in which we can work together. I would love a general strike and a rent strike and to go full on socialist and march in the streets and no one's getting their fucking money. But honestly, the way that the rent strike didn't come together en masse during COVID, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that's going to happen now. But I'm eternally hopeful. Yeah, and I will keep my ear to the ground and figure out what other people are ready for. And I will support them where they're ready.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Continue that boycott for those that are doing it, and keep doing your best. And don't beat yourself up if that one time you had to go to break the boycott and spend a few dollars there, whatever.
You're
just
not
do
the
your
enemy.
best. All right, just do your fucking best.
Yeah,
that's all anybody's asking.
You're not the enemy. Let's work together and do what we can, right? When we're facing monopolistic powers, Galen has a fucking castle in the UK, right?
Yeah.
These are the people we're up against.
Yeah.
So they have a lot more money, and money means more options.
Yeah.
So do what you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Lend yourselves some grace here, and lend other people some grace as well.
But also, use this opportunity to strike up conversations with people.
Yeah.
The in-laws came, and we were talking about the Loblaw strike.
I don't think they knew about it. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's just tell people about it. I told my personal trainer about it when we were at the gym the one day. Yeah. And so just in that conversation, I was hoping that, other people might,
be that annoying Lisa Simpson type character. Yeah.
Yeah, so just
a little bit. Just a little bit.
Right? You don't need to, and please don't be the person who's what, you haven't heard? You're still giving them your money? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Just let them know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Lead by example and just be vocal about what you're doing. And if people join in, amazing. That's a fucking win.
Yep.
If they don't, really, that's the extent of your power. Honestly.
Exactly. And, and to the people that don't deliberately care, well, they're probably part of a class of people that isn't going to be affected either way.
Or, they don't care about anyone other than owning people.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Fuck off.
Yeah. They're the capitalists or petite bourgeoisie, however you want to put it.
Temporarily embarrassed millionaires, yada, whatever. So you do you.
You're not the idiot whisperer, right? Then that's something I try and tell myself very often. And to anybody who follows me on Twitter, probably sees that. When I find, when I'm encountered by someone that I regard as an idiot, I've now developed this personal strategy of how to resist giving into whatever it is they're trying to rope me into, argument wise or what have you.
Yeah.
And recognize, I am not the person that's going to put the random guy. I'm not the random guy on the internet that is going to put the proper statement or series of words together that is going to change this person's mind. I'm just the likelihood of that happening extremely nil, and I have to have some level of self-respect for my time and just basically be no, I'm not doing this. Oh, it's because you can't. It's because you don't have a real answer. Sure, whatever you want to say.
I'm just
whatever ends this conversation, because you saying that changes nothing. It's like shooting barbs at me however you want, but in any material or real or factual way, it changes nothing.
Just gonna go on with my life.
So I'm gonna go on with my life.
Continue on existing,
and I
breathing
promote
air.
Everybody else do this. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, but when it comes to time for say your in-laws. Coming over. Maybe you have more sway because they know you as a flesh person. And at the very least, you don't need to browbeat them. Just be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah. You just gotta you can lead a horse to water. right? Do the best you can.
Yeah.
And kind of speaking of that, I guess this is sort of maybe a sort of weak segue here, but a large part of the conversation of what has been going on with Israel-Palestine, U.S. support of it, and like bipartisan U.S. support of it, right? Like, this isn't just a right-wing thing. It's very much the centrist right-wing thing in the other party that is the Democrats. You have the right-wing party that is Republicans and the centrist right-wing party that is the Democrats. And sprinkled throughout the Democrats, I think there are some legitimately very well-meaning leftist-leaning people. And it's something I've talked about before in that I think those of us on the left, a more serious kind of left in that context where that recognizes liberalism for what it is, that not like a liberal person that sort of leans left on social policies. I'm talking about like actual left-leaning people, not to kind of gatekeep about it or sound too lame about it. I think you know what I mean. We have this tendency to want to react to the most left-leaning figures in the establishment, such as like, the Squad, AOC, Bernie Sanders. We have this tendency to want to go in like really hard and vicious on them. And to kind of almost like light a flare or send a warning that, these are people that we can't trust. They're still part of the establishment. They're a shill. They're just as evil as the rest of them, or what have you. I think it can get very hyperbolic and a little ridiculous in that context, and it doesn't do us any favors.
Yeah, it also speaks to, perfect is the enemy of done. Right?
Yeah.
Is that you're never going to find someone out in politics who perfectly encapsulates your values unless you're literally the fucking person to run.
Yeah.
And so if you are seeing a void, run.
Yeah.
And I don't mean run away.
If you are the person to run and you win, and you have a constituency to work for that you are supposed to represent, you still represent the people who disagree with you to an extent. Like you still have like a certain civic duty and a certain job, and that's the nature of what this is, for better or worse. Like you could criticize what this is, and that system may have some inherent problems that could use fixing or whatever. But that is the nature of the reality in which we presently live, right? Like you get elected to this position and you represent a constituency.
And that doesn't mean that you should be like, oh, my constituents are extremely right wing, so I should say you're right. We should jail the homeless,
exactly.
and grind their bones and make our soylent green. That's not what that means.
But you do have to, unfortunately, play politics, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to try and appease to a certain degree. And the reason I say this is not to play apologetics for it and say that's all fine and good. I'm saying let's appreciate the position that the people who may be most on our side are in. And looking through that lens, I also say we can't depend on them to save us. Like, the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders of the world aren't fucking, idealistic superheroes that are just going to do it all for us. And because of their strong convictions and not negotiating with those liberal elites, they'll somehow make material gains. Like, let's not live in a fantastic world here. You can still criticize them, of course, for being too liberal. You can criticize them because you think they're negotiating with that a little too much and not being principled enough. Sure. I think there's room for criticism there, but I think people have a tendency to be very, very hyperbolic about it. And in particular, in this video, and I'm going to, I'll show you this video. It's Bernie Sanders talking, like it's his Twitter post. Here, get to it here. yes, healthcare is a human right. Here, I'm gonna get on the big screen here. Yes, healthcare is a human right. Yes, the billionaire class must start paying their fair share of taxes. Yes, we must raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Bottom line, we must have the guts to take on and defeat the powerful and greedy ruling class. So I won't show all of this video because it's 8 minutes long, but we'll probably get like about halfway through it here. But just to sort of break it down, I saw a lot of leftist people strongly coming at Bernie for this. Like, you're selling us on the fashionism. You're trying to cushion the blow. You're trying to, by sort of working in cahoots with the Democrats on this, you're selling us on the road that we've been going down, which has been disastrous. And, I agree that road has been disastrous. But to say Bernie Sanders is some malevolent force in that, like, you got to appreciate that I think there are good people, him, for example, that are swimming in this swamp, and it's going to get murky.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful about how you say things and when you say them, and you're trying to not agitate certain people while also defending certain people. Mm-hmm. And you can criticize that and saying, this is cowardice and all that. But, you also have to appreciate that's inherent in the conditions which these people operate.
Yeah, like it's not enough to speak only to the people who are already on your side. Mm-hmm. Like, when you're a politician like this and you're trying to advocate for change, you need to be able to
he's
speak
speaking
to
a large, like, kind of apolitical, almost liberal audience that isn't that engaged with a lot of political thinking. How do you communicate with them?
Yeah, how do you speak to people who aren't already sold on what you're selling?
Yeah. It's and you got to appreciate looking at it through that lens. That said, some of the verbiage that he uses, I do have some criticism for, and I appreciate. But here, let's get to it and see it.
1876, Americans won independence from the King of England. That was a pivotal moment in American history. In 1861, Civil War broke out in the United States, and over 600,000 Americans died in the war between the states. That was a pivotal moment in American history.
Really loud.
In 1929, Wall Street collapsed. Unemployment rose to 25%, and millions of Americans descended into economic desperation. That was a pivotal moment in American history. In 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, and an unprepared United States was forced to mobilize and fight a world war on two fronts, Hitler in Europe and Japan in Asia. That was a pivotal moment in American history. Today, in 2024, our country once again faces a pivotal moment in American history. The crises facing us are enormous. The consequences of failure are unthinkable. What do I mean? As the nation moves rapidly toward oligarchy, the billionaire class exerts enormous influence over the economic and political life of the nation. While the rich become much richer, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay, my first interjection there. As America becomes an oligarchy, I would say we're already there.
Yeah.
That's my one caveat to what he said so far. And I like, but again, I kind of understand why somebody in his position, and we got to kind of be able to read between the lines on that, why somebody sitting where he's sitting might kind of soften that blow a little bit, right? But anyway.
Our political system is corrupt. Thanks to the disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, billionaires and their super PACs can spend hundreds of millions of dollars to elect or defeat candidates they target.
Okay, so that's a hugely important thing that affects politics. And what I have seen from a lot of leftist people criticizing Bernie is not appreciating that, because he's like the only one that talks about it. So there's no other people that are concerned with that level of corruption to even verbalize it. Bernie Sanders is amongst the very, very few, if not the only person that actually talks about that sort of thing. So that's why I say, and I get a little defensive when people are trying to punch left on Bernie like that, where it's like, you know, do you even appreciate some of the points that you would really agree with him on because you think he cozies up to liberals too much and stuff like that? Like it's kind of like, you know, cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? Like it's a little much. So like, you know, and it's something we talked about on the last show. Accept the wins. Take the wins. Take when mainstream popular people agree with you on something and use that.
Yeah.
Don't shoot them down. And shooting them down constantly at every chance you get, I can only think it is some sort of sabotaging sort of effort. Whether it's incidental or not, but that's sort of the result.
Yeah, like when there's so much noise that they can't even hear the wins or the boos.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to ever get constructive criticism to them, right?
Yeah.
Because it just becomes noise if, like, literally every move is met with duty and caca.
Yeah.
Like, you know, maybe let's be a little bit more selective about the areas in which we're like, okay, you know what? I really want you to do
and not
better
to say
on
like
this.
defend the bad actions that Democrats do, or that somebody like Bernie might, like, you know, if he votes for something that's bad or something like that, you know, definitely criticize that
Yeah,
stuff.
just be choosier.
Yeah. I think we can have a bit better standards where we're going to wage those types of battles, you know. But continuing on, because I think a couple minutes in is really where it gets to the heart of what I'm trying to point out.
Our life expectancy and our birth rate in the wealthiest nation on earth are in decline. Despite spending far more per capita on a broken healthcare system, the average American now lives a shorter life than almost any wealthy nation on earth. Climate change threatens the future of the planet. The last 10 years have been the 10 warmest on record, and unless there is a massive reduction in carbon emissions, we will continue to see more drought, more flooding, more forest fires, more mass migrations, and more death as a result of climate change. Artificial intelligence and robotics are radically transforming our society, causing massive anxiety among workers. Most of the jobs we have today will not be here in 15 years. Who will benefit from this radical transformation of the economy? The well-being of tens of millions of workers depends upon that answer. The basic human rights that women have struggled to win for decades are now under severe attack. Since the Supreme Court's disastrous decision overturning Roe v. Wade, 14 states have passed near total abortion bans, some with no exceptions for victims of rape or incest.
And I'd just like to point out, so far, and he'll continue on this way, that as far as factual empirical statements go, he is 100% correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct on all of this. There's
Where's
nothing
the
to
lie?
say. Yeah, exactly. Where is the
Will
lie?
women once again be reduced to second-class citizenship?
Well, they already have.
The United States
ship
now
has
spends
sailed.
almost $1 trillion a year on the military, more than the next 10 countries combined. This is more than all federal funding for food, housing, and education. Tens of billions of those dollars are currently supporting the horrific war in Gaza, waged by the far-right extremist Israeli government under Netanyahu.
That's impressive
So-
that he actually called that out.
Yes,
Like,
and
directly,
that's been his
and-
verbiage for a while.
Yeah.
And the thing that I see on the left criticizing that verbiage, and again, I think there's a bit of room to criticize it where we say I think we can be a bit more precise in this language. But again, like from what I see from a lot of those same voices, is zero understanding of the fact that he's the only person in this level of power that's saying stuff like this at all.
Yeah.
So again, take that win. Like, don't shoot the guy down because he's trying to put it in a more palatable package and you find that detestable for some reason. Like, I sort of get that frustration, but it's also so self-defeating. Like, take the win as much as you can take it, because this is what we got to work with here, okay? And so, yeah, like, he is calling the far-right government under Netanyahu for what it is. And you can, and the argument that I've been hearing is that the reason that doesn't go far enough is that the existence of Israel as a settler colonial state, that in of itself in its totality should not be supported, whether it be a right-wing government under Netanyahu or not, because you're always going to have a fundamental problem with the existence of that state and how it has affected Palestine. And it's like, yeah, granted, that is a reasonable frustration to have, but to turn that around,
you gotta get people there.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get people there
to get people
there.
there.
Speak to people where they're at.
Yeah.
Right. And this people he's speaking to isn't people like you or us, who again are already not only sold on it, but far beyond what he's selling it as.
Yeah.
You know? So like have that level of understanding, right? Like, why do we spend any energy even being concerned about that when, you know, there's bigger fish to fry, right?
Yeah.
Like, I get frustrated with the fact that we seem to spend a lot of energy on that sort of thing. So yeah, anyway, like, again, everything you're saying, factually correct.
Yeah.
That, my friends, is where we are today, and it is not a pretty picture. People feel hopeless. People feel exhausted. People are worried about the kind of future that awaits them, their kids, and future generations. Well, how do we respond to all of that? First, we cannot simply turn away from the painful and complex realities that we face. The world is what it is, and it's a mess. And the situation is not going to improve unless we do the hard work required.
Now, I'm not saying he's kind of really spitting some revolutionary message in subtext there.
Yeah.
But I think people should appreciate a little bit of subtext there.
Yeah.
And not and understand that, like, the hard work required doesn't mean just voting, you know?
Yeah. Like, voting is one day every 4 years.
Yeah.
It is literally the least that is asked of citizens.
Yeah.
It is everything else that you do in the 4 years in between.
Yeah.
So this speaks to, what are you going to do?
We got to do the hard work required, and that's something we've continuously on the left kind of failed to organize. Yes, like the Democrats have failed us repeatedly, and we can't depend on them for actual progress.
Yeah.
And they are logically and evidently in cahoots with all the other far right forces that the Republicans are.
But here's the absolute damning problem: is that still after this complaint by the left for ages and ages, we don't have a visible, viable third option.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are the third parties?
Yeah.
Right? Like, seriously.
And that's
So
another thing that requires that. Like, I think I would put that as a very important part and parcel to the hard work required is getting more parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 1,000
That's
times yes. Because the unenviable and gross position is that come November, November 2024, which is coming up in 6 fucking months,
Yep.
you have 2 candidates.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you got to work with. And
It's
like
fucking
I've said already, is that, like, I understand people who are fed up and are done with trying to play the game of well, you got to vote blue for harm prevention because the harm instilled under Biden and their ostensible impotence to do anything about it
Yeah.
is very disenfranchising. And and personally, I don't want to put the energy into saying, you got to vote, you got to get out and vote in blue. I get why people are just completely angry with that.
And I am just frustrated to shit because that's not my country. And so I can't go and build a third party down there by my fucking self.
And we have our own problems with that in that, like, even our NDP, our third party that was supposed to be the more leftist option has been so watered down over the years, you know?
Like I'm a big Jagmeet fan.
Yeah.
Like
I like Jagmeet. I do.
Much. Yeah. So when I vote NDP.
But like, he still has his not great spots,
Yeah, but like we're not voting Jesus.
Yeah.
We're voting for a fucking prime minister, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so just
take the wins. Take the wins where you can get them.
And so of the options, the best options that I've seen provincially and federally have been NDP. Whether or not they're the sexiest options, whether or not they're the most eloquent options, no, but they're the most ethical options. Continuously. And that includes the Greens because a lot of the Greens' social policies still veer
kind of right wing. Yeah, that's true.
So I very much approve of the Greens' environmental policy by and large. But if you can't follow through with that with the social policy,
it's kind of meaningless, in theoret, like, and from a political theory standpoint, kind of incoherent. But anyway, so just continuing on for another probably minute into this because that gets
it is what it is,
basically to the point,
and it's a mess, and the situation is not going to improve unless we do the hard work required. Second, we must be actively involved in the 2024 national elections, the most consequential in our lifetimes. Yes, I know. Biden is not popular, and many progressives, including me, strongly disagree with his policies regarding Israel and this disastrous war in Gaza. But let us be clear. Biden is not running against God. He is running against Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in American history, whose second term, if he is reelected, will be worse than his first. And on his worst day, Biden is 1,000 times better than Trump.
And this is where it gets to, like, some of the criticism from the left on Bernie that I think is worthy here. And it's not just the problem with Bernie, but again, a very much a systemic thing because, like, what else is he supposed to say in regards to the elections? Where else are you supposed to look? He's a guy that is in elected office. What else is he supposed to say in regards to elections? He's not like he's not going to be the one to sit there and say burn the mother down. But he is telling us, there is hard work required.
But that's the thing is that, like, even if he said burn the mother down, there is no organized movement.
Yeah, exactly.
To continue
there's no way to follow through on that. Yeah, right?
It's like, who burns down what?
Yeah. So, like, this idea where the leftists are like, oh, he's trying to sell us on electoral politics. He's trying to sell us on, like, it's basically this is a pacifier. He's trying to subdue us with this pacifying language and stuff like that. And it's like, to say that's the takeaway is kind of, I'm sorry, I think it's kind of juvenile. I think it underappreciates the reality of the situation that we're in. And again, I'm not playing apologetics for that reality. It's just recognize the reality. Like, he's saying all the right factual things here. Use that, leverage that, and you don't necessarily have to be completely on board with him on this idea that you got to vote for Biden and that's a worthy talking point. You don't have to agree with that. You can agree with him on all the other stuff and leverage that rather than going, Bernie is the devil because he wants us to vote for Biden. It's just silly.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just.
It's unproductive.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
divisive.
get
It
why
doesn't
we talk
serve
like
anyone.
this.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like, unfortunately, the right is so organized and
Yeah, they're
united.
tight on that, you know, and electoralism works for them in that regard, right? Sure, it's not going to work for us in the same regard because, again, moneyed interests and corruption and all that stuff. We have a lot more work to do out on the streets and all that, but that work out on the streets doesn't involve slandering Bernie Sanders and AOC and the squad more often than recognizing, the threat that the right-wing forces actually are.
Yeah, because, like, honestly, Project 2025 isn't a secret. They're not hiding it.
Yeah.
It's not like some document that's under some guy's mattress. Like, this is a planned... this is a plan.
Yeah, it's an actual plan that you
This is
can
a
go
fucking
and
plan.
see. Yeah.
And so, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Project 2025, but it is effectively the Republicans' plan so that should Donald Trump or even the next Republican president be elected, because they're planning on Donald Trump, but don't fool yourself and think that the risk begins and ends with him, so that if he dies before election, because he's madly sundowning, like I don't know.
Yeah.
His time is limited,
Yeah.
and that's not a threat. That's just like a medical reality.
Yeah, like just watching Donald Trump these days. Like he doesn't have it anymore, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
And that's.
I think it's actually going to get increasingly funny to watch the campaign efforts ramp up over the next few months because of that.
Yeah, and that's
you
not
know?
an ageist thing. That's a medical thing.
It's just
Like,
literally
it's
like,
just-
well, and you could say it's ageist, I don't know, but like old people doing these jobs that require high functioning abilities to be depended upon 24/7 is maybe not a good idea.
It's not a good idea. Well, like, okay,
It's maybe not a good idea.
How old are these fucking assholes? Like,
honestly, I keep forgetting what their ages are.
Is Trump 78 or is he in his 80s?
Something like
I'm
that.
confused.
Yeah.
Apparently, here's a funny thing.
I don't think
So-
it matters. 78, 81, that's kind of the same age as far as I'm
Maybe.
concerned.
Hey, Jessica.
Yeah. Hi, Jessica. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. So
yeah.
you wouldn't let a child run a company. You wouldn't. Is it ageist not
Yeah.
to let a?
And it's not that like elderly people are as dumb as children or something like that, or ignorant as children, but like
Cognitive decline is a thing, and that's
even like that removed. My moral kind of ethical stance, aside from like the medical cognitive stuff,
you
is
should run
that
a country that you'll
live in. You know, they're not going
Yeah.
to be living in the world that they're currently creating.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a real consequence for them.
No.
It's this theoretical, ethereal thing
Yeah.
that they're never going to have to live out.
They could peace out in 5 years.
Yeah.
So, like, and none of their plans have any
yeah.
effect.
So
Yeah.
even from that perspective, we probably shouldn't have super old people fucking running shit, right?
So here's a funny thing, and it's also not funny, haha, but funny. I'm gonna cry that like these are the oldest fuckers that would ever be president.
ever. Yeah, like ever in history.
Yeah.
These are the oldest people.
Yeah. And so they decided that, this
Yeah.
election, let's just go with the most decrepit
Yeah.
fuckers.
It-
They
like-
could blow at a hip at any fucking
Hey,
moment.
like, am I wrong? Or in 2016, wasn't it like a prominent talking point amongst younger people and younger voters that, like, hey, can we stop having crusty old ass white dudes as
Yeah.
all our candidates?
Yeah.
Please.
And
And
then
then they're like, hey, how about the two crustiest old white dudes you ever fucking seen?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's what we'll give you. It's almost like spitting in their eye, you know? Like,
I mean,
it's just crazy.
Spitting in Bob Dole's eye.
Yeah,
They give him a lot of shit for being old. But
Yeah,
now
yeah.
there's like, let's get the
Yeah,
oldest
yeah,
fuckers
no.
out there.
Bob Dole was old. Yeah, like how? Okay, wait. Now I'm
think
curious
he
about
was
this.
80.
How old was Bob Dole when he was running? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was 80. But then, okay, here's another bod, Dole. Nice. But also, here's a nice, funny, hilarious
Dole
thing.
eventually won the nomination, becoming the oldest first-time presidential nominee at the age of 73.
But that was only the first time, and that was in 1984. Well, what about the 90s?
Whoa. Okay, wait. He was. No, wait. No, that President Reagan was 73 and 84, not Dole.
All right, just go to the fucking. Go to the Wikipedia page so we can flesh this out. Also, here's some hilarious stuff. Rudy Giuliani was served, noticed.
He was like 74 when he was running because that was the election against Clinton, so that would have been the mid 1990s. Dole was born in 1923. Yeah, he would have been in his 70s. So Biden and Trump are both older than that.
Okay. By the way, Bob Dole only passed in 2021 at 98 years old.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, pull up Rudy Giuliani being served on his birthday party.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This just happened. This is delightful. He posted a tweet. There we go. Served indictment papers during his 80th birthday party. Like, prior to that...
That's the best thing.
Yeah. Prior to that, he posted a tweet about, like, you're going to try and serve me? You got to try and find me. And then they got him his fucking birthday party.
That's a good place to find him.
Yes. That's very surreptitious, my dude.
All right. So this is the MSNBC coverage of that. Let's see here. I was actually not aware of this.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is this going to fucking load? What's going on here?
Nah. Yeah, May 19th. That's today. So it just happened today. And I've been cackling all day about it. Go down. Don't rely on videos. Did you select videos?
I am in the videos tab, yeah.
Why?
Well, because it's okay. News.
There we go.
God. All right.
There we go. Indictment papers at birthday party after mocking Arizona Attorney General.
Yeah. I remember seeing the mocking. I remember seeing that.
Magnificent.
Yeah, for some of the video, that video just doesn't want to load. Yeah, but Arizona's Democratic Attorney General Chris Mayers on Friday announced that Rudy Giuliani has been served with the notice of his indictment in connection with an alleged conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election in Arizona. Cool.
Okay, the announcement came less than 2 hours after a social media post from Giuliani taunted Mays for failing to deliver his indictment.
Yeah.
In a now deleted post on X, Giuliani taunted Arizona authorities.
Wonder why he deleted that.
Yeah. If Arizona authorities can't find me by tomorrow morning, one, they must dismiss the indictment. That's not how that fucking works, which is why you've been disbarred, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway, two, they must concede that they can't count votes. Ha ha! Then he gets fucking indicted on his birthday. Karma, fuck your face.
Some of the most goofy shit has happened to this guy. Like, need I remind you?
I hope.
Of Four Seasons.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was hoping you were going to go with that. Yeah.
Like, honestly, top 5 shit that's ever happened in my life.
You couldn't write... If you wrote that into a
if you wrote that in like an SNL sketch, people would be like, that's the dumbest sketch.
They'd be
that's a really bad sketch. Why would you write that?
They'd be like, that's a stretch. Like, come on, guys. Let's keep it, like, somehow more to reality. And yet, this is, like, miles funnier than that. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, he was missing for a bit there, Sonic. You're right. But yeah, I guess the first time he popped up, they're like, okay,
for his fucking birthday party.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're in the stupidest timeline, but at least it's funny.
Yeah, there's that. Like, it's really sad, but there is that certain comedic value to it that you can sort of extract because it's so ridiculous. Like, the evil isn't like this really conniving, sinister evil, right?
It's
not that it's like so clever and brilliant. It's that it's just super dumb. And
Yeah, it's not like a.
and all we can do is watch because it's super dumb, but also like it has a lot of money, and that's what we've organized society around.
We have no power to change
So
the
we
channel.
can't do anything about it.
So we just get these
dumb.
fucking idiots at the Four Seasons landscaping.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But
Yeah. So like incredible stuff there. But like my main thing when I see all of this go down is like Giuliani, Trump, all their little fucking criminal friends, no consequences for like most of them. Like the kind of like helpless people involved in January 6th, those are the people that have been punished, right?
Yeah.
But like any of the actual powerful people.
Yeah, like Clarence Thomas's wife.
Yeah. Like Clarence Thomas himself.
Like Clarence fucking Thomas.
You know, like the people that are actually in the positions that are making shit so bad.
Yeah.
They're not going to be affected at all. Trump is going to be allowed to run for president, like for real, despite everything. If United States as a country was actually interested in justice, if their justice system was interested in justice, they would have enacted it already. They would have done something. They would have had Trump behind bars for one of his crimes already. I remain unconvinced that they are actually interested in putting this guy in jail.
I honestly, frankly, I think he's going to croak before any judicial decisions even come down.
Yeah. And that's to say, like, that means maybe they'll never punish him at all because the judicial system is just like curbed in these people's favor, or maybe he'll die in the next 6 months. One way or the other, he will die before any actual punishment happens to him in either case.
But yeah, Sonic says it's bordering on Kids in the Hall. That is an excellent analogy.
It is that level of
and
kind
across from a
like
porn
abstract
store.
absurdity.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
So
sort of
not just the Four Seasons landscaping, the Four Seasons landscaping across from a porn store. Like, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it's all made up.
Like it's a fucking cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, what is it? I really love the webcomic House of Decline, Haus of Decline.
Yeah.
If you haven't read their comics, it's really great stuff. And there's one where it's like two bros smoking weed. And they're like, oh, man, I think I'm a cartoon. And, you know, oh, no, I'll call, I forget what philosopher it was, but it was like, you know, a philosopher that was big on the whole, like, realism sort of philosophy. And so they call him, and they're like, don't worry, as long as, you know, you're perceiving this. And they're like, oh, thank God. You know, like,
Nice.
And maybe that's what this is. Maybe we are fucking in a goofy ass cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and so anyway, to kind of like recap the show, keep up that boycott on Loblaws and its affiliates,
its umbrella of stores that it covers, such as No Frills, Shoppers Drug Mart, Zayre's, Real Canadian Superstar.
That is something we'll get into next week's show, by the way. Stocks and stuff. I've been kind of watching and reading some things about, like, you know, the GameStop thing is still going on.
Yeah.
So there's kind of some fun updates to do with that. So we'll be touching on that subject next week. Mm-hmm. And also, when it comes to the most left-wing people in establishment politics, they're not going to save us. They're not our saviors. They're necessarily, you can use that verbiage. You can, whatever you need to say. But to put a lot of energy into completely condemning them like they're just as bad as anybody else without leveraging the good and positive things that they're saying and using that to our benefit, I don't know. I have some questions about that from a strategical point of view.
Yeah.
I really do.
It's not to say that the enemy of our enemy is our friend. Just more like, don't make enemies unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Right.
Like why are you wasting so much time talking about what like AOC and Bernie Sanders are trying to like subdue the left? Just talk about your ideas then and like try and leverage that stuff. Say, hey, even AOC agrees with us on this, because and even though they're an establishment figure, we still like got that, you know. Use it as leverage rather than like, you know, don't let these people fool you into thinking that they represent the left. I mean, like, that's a good example. I actually think that's a good thing to say. But spending too much time saying it, I guess, is what I'm getting at there. Yeah, it's sort of a nuanced point, but like I feel like we're I guess hyperbolic is the word. We're way too hyperbolic about the way we talk about this stuff, rather than condemning, you know, the actual people that are responsible for the bad shit happening.
Yeah. So, you know, your energy is finite. So let's be a little bit more choosy about where we expend it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it gets too.
Yeah. And, yeah, I think that more or less like caps off. We're kind of hitting the hour now.
Yeah.
We've been streaming for an hour. Sorry if you checked in late, but, you know, as soon as we log off, you'll be able to go back and watch the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
And unless something changes, I have next week. We're gonna be back here on Sunday next week. Yeah.
Because he's got a show in Hamilton on Friday.
Yep.
May 24th, and so we're coming back Saturday.
May 24th, Corktown. I'm going to be opening that show, so come on down and check that out, and more shows and announcements.
You get an extra day off to sleep in and take care of yourselves, and take care of yourself and each other.
All right, have a good night.